Yeah, so again, if I'm speaking to someone who I know understands the TCK thing, I might tell them my story or some of my story. If I'm speaking to someone who hasn't traveled or doesn't really, get it, I'll just say, oh yeah, I'm from New Jersey. Yeah, yeah.
So what are some of the challenges you've experienced as a third culture kid?
Well, I think the biggest one is just never really fitting in anywhere, and that dreaded question, where are you from? And just never feeling completely at home anywhere, and again, a classic TCK thing. Like when you have a childhood that's so far away, it's all these different countries, and you don't have any physical reminders of them. It's like it exists somewhere in your memory. It's always connecting to that childhood is always difficult too. Now I'm in Los Angeles. How was it? I lived in New Zealand, and
You don't have a New Zealand accent at all. So it's like
well, that was another challenge too. Was coming, I was 13, and I had an Australian accent, and no one understood me, and everyone stared at me, and I didn't have the right clothes, so, I didn't look right, And of course, teenagers, you always want to conform. That's the big thing about teenagers. You have to be the same as everybody. So this was a very big thing. I had to learn to be an American teenager to fit in.
Did you have to change your accent in order to fit in?
And I didn't want to, but it just happened like naturally because, you're here and that's what you're hearing it all the time. But and it was also to fit in, and I still do that. If I'm around Australian or New Zealand people, my accent changes. Kind of just I slip into it a little more. And then if I'm around people who don't know my background, then I just sound like I'm from New Jersey.
It just comes out naturally.
Yeah, it just kind of slips out. Yeah.
Because I tried to do a fake British accent. It sounded really funny. Maybe you can teach me how to do that. My husband's like, are you going to cut it out? It sounded like you're mocking British people. I was like, I'm trying, but it doesn't sound right. Because I know they focus on certain words. Like, you have to emphasize on certain words, and then you have to use this word bloody a lot.
Yes, that's true.
Like, bloody hell. Bloody this. Yes. Yeah. And they like to say lad, mate, love, stuff like that. So there's special terms they use. But
different words. Yeah, different words, yeah.
I don't sound anything like them. So they're like, my husband's like laughing and like, you might want to cut that out. What would you consider your biggest blessing growing up as a third culture kid?
I think there's just, I think travel is the best education you can really have. And I think, just getting to see so many different things and and experience different things, see different monuments. I mean, I didn't learn about history from a book. I visited all these different historical sites type of thing. And I think that's, as an adult, I'm really adaptable and really flexible. Like I can go anywhere. I'm not fearful of things that are different from me. So I can travel. I've traveled by myself, to many, many places. I sort of embrace change. I'm not afraid of it. I'm always like excited when there's some kind of change in the air. I'm like, oh, good, something's going to happen. So I'm always like excited by that. Whereas I think most people are kind of fearful of change, like they're afraid of it. And I think it's really built a lot of resilience, just to deal with things in life. Which, again, at 13, I had to go walk into this high school. And just, it was terrible, but I had to do it. I had to go to school every day, even though I didn't want to. So you just learn, you push yourself and to do things, and it comes all right. And, it comes out all right in the end.
Yeah. I think the outcome is like amazing in the end. Yeah. So remind me again which 7 countries you lived in.
New Zealand, Fiji, Sweden, England, Nigeria, New Zealand again, Australia, and United States.
Wow, it's amazing. You actually beat my record. No, I thought I'm the one that actually had a record until I met someone like you.
What was your record? What's your story?
Oh, okay. I was born in Taiwan, and then when I was 8, I moved to Canada. I stayed there for like 4.5 years, and then I moved back again to Taiwan. Went to middle school and high school in Taiwan, and then college, I went to the States. And then for grad school, I lived in England. So it's just 4 countries. But people around me, I've never met people like me, so.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm the only person with a dual citizenship, so it's not very common. So if people ask me where I'm from, depending on who I'm talking to, I'll tell them I'm Taiwanese, if the person's Taiwanese. And if the person I'm talking to is like Canadian, I just tell them I'm from Canada. So it's kind of works to my favor in a way.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I have New Zealand citizenship, U.S. citizenship, and I think I still have Australian citizenship. My parents got us Australian citizenship. But I don't have a passport I have 2 passports. Yeah, so again, if I'm speaking to someone who I know understands the TCK thing, I might tell them my story or some of my story. If I'm speaking to someone who hasn't traveled or doesn't really, get it, I'll just say, oh yeah, I'm from New Jersey. Now I live in LA, yeah.
Okay, what part of LA?
I live in Santa Monica, right?
And you went to Jersey in high school. Have you ever lived in other states while you're growing up?
So I went to Boston University, and then I went back to New Jersey, and I worked as a newspaper reporter for a while, and then I went traveling. As I said, I went to Spain, Guatemala, and Venezuela, and then I came back to Miami. I lived in Miami, and now California.
Okay,
Hi everybody, this is Lisa with BTV Travel, and I'm here to share with you some interesting statistics about third culture kids. Let me start off with 4 aspects. Number 1, you might notice that third culture kids are a lot more mature than their peers. So I noticed I was a lot more mature in high school compared to my friends. And also number 2, depression rate is 4 times higher amount of cultural kids compared to the general public. And also number 3, there are some disappointment when it comes to repatriation, like coming back from a foreign country to their home culture. Okay, and number 4, the last but not the least, most TCK are linguistically adept, so they can speak multiple foreign languages, and they are very fluent in many languages.
Okay, can you share like your most memorable story in each country that you've lived in? The one you were born in, and then work your way up.
Well, the story from New Zealand that I remember the best is when there was a hurricane once in Wellington, and a ship sank in the harbor, and the house started. We stayed home from school, and the house started to leak. So there was water coming down everywhere, and we were running around with bowls and basins to catch the water. So that was kind of a memorable experience. I also remember when Queen Elizabeth visited New Zealand. So we had the day off school to go see the Queen, and we lined up on some street and, waved at the Queen coming. Remember that.
How are people's accent different from New Zealand and Australia? Because I believe you lived in both countries.
Yeah, they're almost the same. It's very similar. You have to know the difference between each one. But the telltale sign is how they pronounce I's. In Australia, it's a long as in New Zealand, it's more of a U. So instead of saying fish and chips, they say fush and chips.
Fush and chips. Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd, it almost sounds like a short U sound. Whereas Australia say fish, chips. I don't know, I can't even say it.
I'll keep in mind of the sign. Our family actually went on a family vacation last year to Australia for a week. And I actually have friends from New Zealand, so I can't really tell the difference, but it's like their culture seems really similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. There's just 2, and then the E, the way New Zealanders say E and A, like they say instead of flag, they say flag. Flag. Oh. So it's a weird sort of A and,
Pretty cool. Are there cuisines any different, like the food that they eat? Is there any
Not too much. They both eat meat pies and sausage rolls, and that's sort of the national fast food, I suppose you'd say.